Hey, hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Energy Unleashed. My name is Suzanne Worthley with my co-host, Kim Hess. Hey, girl.
Hello.
How you doing? Oh
I
my God, that
have a
sounded
better
like a
response.
movie. How you doing?
How you doing? I'm doing.
How
That's
you
about
doing?
it.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a week. So we are October 20th, 2023. It is the weirdest energies lately. I swear to God, this October has just been crazy. We put out a podcast just this week, in fact, that uploaded this week,
Yeah.
talking about the craziness out there because it hasn't settled down, and I don't think it's going to settle down. So it's
Mm-mm.
nuts, right?
It is. It is. And then I was looking at the Schumann's doing kind of the weird things too, up and down, up
Yeah,
and down. So there's a lot of different things that are hitting us all at one time.
all at one
But
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Because
a,
I'm
it's
definitely
a
not sleeping very well right now. It's
You
kind of
know, I
crazy.
wasn't all around new moons. I'm really, really bad around a new moon. I'm better around a full moon, if you can believe that, than a new moon. And I was dying through the new moon period, and then that was doubled up with eclipse, and then it was like,
Mhm.
so finally, I got a good couple nights of sleep. But yeah, it's a little crazy out there right now. And like I said, I don't think it's going to get much easier. So ground
And
yourselves.
yeah, right, right.
All right, we're continuing our chakra series. Thank you so much to everybody that's listening and sharing. We're getting some really great feedback on this, and we are thrilled that we're giving you something that is important to all of you. And as every single time we chat together, take what resonates, toss what doesn't. Kim and I are here to give you the information and then unleash it from a perspective of lots of questions. And hopefully we get to what you need. But if we don't, certainly put it in the comments so we can get back to you.
Mhm.
So up until this point, we have been doing our best to be color coded for our series. And so obviously today we're all blue. You're dark blue, I'm light blue. And this is the throat chakra. So we are now at the throat chakra, which is the first chakra of what we call the spiritual plane. And so when we have the 7 chakras, the first 3, the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus, those are what comprise what we consider the physical plane. So that's the balance on the magnetic bottom of the body. Last session that we just recorded and posted was the heart chakra, and the heart chakra is the bridge or the opening to that next plane of spiritual chakras. So we have the throat, the third eye, and the crown, which balance out the spiritual chakras that are much more electric.
Mhm.
And this balances us when we balance all of them to be electromagnetic in balance. So the spiritual chakras kind of crack me up because before we even start, I think what's funny is most people that are on their spiritual journey at the very beginning, and I'm not making fun of anyone,
Oh, no.
are always like, oh, I want to open my crown, I want to open my third eye, I want to open this, and this. And that's great, but make sure that you've done your work on your physical plane, because if not, just think about how open you are to all this cosmic enlightenment that's just like, and we call this mystical depression, because from my throat up, I'm like this incredible funnel. And if I truly am the shape of a funnel, meaning the rest of me is like this, I've got nothing to ground this
Mm-mm.
huge, vast amount of enlightenment. Okay. And what we do is we get mystically depressed. And I have seen so many people kind of hit that wall because they think this is the power.
Yeah.
And it's all power. But what's really important about the human is what's so powerful is actually the physical plane, getting the spiritual plane all the way through the body into the physical and grounding it and then back out again. It's the process of all of it.
Ooh, it's when you were talking about it, what does a person experience when it's just this? Because I
Well,
didn't
it's
experience
it's
that. Like,
mystical overload. It's like confusion. It's like too much. It's like, all of a sudden maybe I've got a past life memory and I don't have any context for it. And I've got it swirling about my so-called 3D reality with no ability to go, oh, that's a past life. I can contain that. I can learn the information. I don't have to have the pain, and so on and so forth. Or I'm way into collective energies on overdone, and I'm bringing it into my body with no, again, context or information, and I'm way overdone. So we are not grounded. That's like sticking your finger in a socket while you're standing in a puddle and you can't figure out what's going on.
so I was just trying to imagine this in day-to-day life. Like your reactions and your response to things has to be just
like this. What?
Yeah, chaotic.
Yeah.
Really, really chaotic, but also you're in such a different place that I just like going to the grocery store. Like, I can't imagine what it feels like with all of this going on, and you're around these people and you just can't get it and you just need to get out of there, or like it would have to be just chaotic like that.
It's overload. But I think what's even more beyond that right now is there's so many podcasts and YouTubes and everything under the sun that are teaching, galactics and the aliens, which is all great and cool.
Mhm.
But, everyone thinks up here is where the power is. And we, as a human, our embodiment, our actual human form being on a planetary system, this is where the power is. And if we're constantly giving our power up to even our higher guidance, I want to talk to my star family, that's all fine and dandy. But if you don't know how to bring that star family in and ground it into your own humanness and make it part of this incarnation, you're going to have some trouble in the long run. And I think that a lot of the ways this information is presented out there is people that are new are going, well, I need to get up there to get like my information.
Yeah.
And most of our information, in my opinion, and again, take what resonates, most of my information, when I really go deep, comes from my insides of my cellular structure, my DNA, my body, my memories, my field center. I can get downloaded on all kinds of information, but when it's processed and made sense of, it's because the human form is doing that. And we can't do that until our first three chakras are really in alignment.
Yeah.
And so I always say, think of the chakras like a house, our foundation. If this is crappy, our roof is going to be totally off and our windows on the second floor are going to be janky, right?
Yeah.
And so foundationally speaking, this is why we call the root chakra a foundational chakra. It's very important. And not that you have to go, oh, I have to fix one and then move to two and then move to three. Because I mean, that's kind of silly.
They all,
Yeah. They're never fixed anyway, right? Because they're all
they keep coming up.
But yeah. So let's get into this one and unleash it, because this is a big one. So this is the element of ether. And ether is not really something that we really talk about. A lot of people will use the word the Akash, they'll use spirit. We don't really know what ether is or looks like, because it's basically something we can't measure or hold. It's spirit, it's love, it's open. So this is when we move up into this chakra, we change how we're working in the body. It's much more about vibration than matter and energy. And we're going to get into that in a little bit, but I always want to start out with the influences and the imbalances. So this influences in the human body, our communication, our independence, our self-expression, sense of security, loyalty, organization, and planning. It's a very logical chakra in some ways, but it is probably the most difficult chakra I have in every client I see, and myself included. Okay. I mean, no matter how much work I do on this chakra, I always feel like something is strangling, whether it's my own crap or it's universal crap or multiverse crap or whatever. The ethers is full of stuff for our throat chakra. So why this comes in is a number of different ways, and we can learn that the imbalances are all over the place. So the negative characteristics are throat pain, tonsillitis, mouth ulcers, laryngitis, voice problems, gum or tooth problems, swollen glands, thyroid imbalances, fevers, flu, neck or shoulder pain, scoliosis, speech defects, addiction, criticisms, faith, and decision-making. So this is that negative chakra. And I can guarantee most of the people on this planet have not had a parental upbringing that's really supporting the throat chakra. Right?
Oh, no.
Come on, little Kim, speak your truth. You're 4.
Yeah, right. No. And it's, I can imagine that a lot of people grew up with especially kind of back in the day, in that you're seen but not heard,
Say that one again.
Yes, you were seen but not heard.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
That's a huge
Thank
one.
goodness that one's kind of going away these days. I think that that's a really toughie, because that was a societal belief system for a really long time. And I do believe that that is changing. Yeah. The color for this is blue. It is actually bright blue, but anything blue, I think, can help in this regard. This is, it can go from turquoises to aquamarines to all kinds of things in terms of the stones to work with here. I work with stone on throat chakra almost with every client, because like I said, everybody struggles with this. And oftentimes what I end up putting here, especially if they've had sadness in being shut down or abused in their throat, is I put an Apache tear here,
Oh,
and
okay.
or a shungite, and or a tiger's eye, and or a rose quartz, in addition to anything blue.
Okay.
So I expand that a lot, especially if they have sadness and being verbally abused. I find that Apache tear really does some really nice healing for that. So other than like your typical turquoise, lapis, lapis for me goes between these two. And yeah, so
I
is
like,
that a lapis
I have
to you?
always, yeah, I've always
That's a
gravitated to lapis,
Mhm.
and I didn't know why. And especially when I started just understanding some of this, and if I see a piece of really pretty lapis or jewelry with lapis, I'm always like, oh my gosh, I need that.
Yep.
So,
And it helps the thyroid,
which I have
right?
thyroid issues. Yeah.
Yep, which you've had some troubles with. And so that's awesome for you. This is all about, well, let's go back. I want to go through the building blocks just to catch up in case this is new for somebody. So chakra one was very, very much about individuality, our sense of safe. It's our root chakra. This is in our pelvic area, our tailbone perineum. This is about, I am separate. I am concerned about myself. I am fight or flight. I am, when I'm off, I can be materialistic, etc. Chakra 2 moving up is, and that was red. Chakra 2 is orange. And this is our sacral chakra. This is when we start to get into relationships, me and how I relate with others. So we're starting to expand the energy here. And this moves into our feel centers, which we talked extensively about, are pretty shut down on everybody. The third chakra is the solar plexus, which is yellow. And this is our, now we start to reorganize from chakra 2 into movement forward. This is when we come into power. This is when we come into our actual power center. That's why a lot of exercises are in that area of the body. And then chakra 4 moves into the heart, which is green. And this offers harmony, acceptance, expansion, unconditional. And then we get to here. So I want to really point something out, which I think is awesome about this chakra. When we're a human body, we have our right-hand side of the body carries our male energy, left carries our female, no matter what sex we are. But what is so cool, and then spiritual on top and physical on the bottom. So we're kind of quarter paneled right to the heart, right? When we get down here, everything is dualism, because that's our existence. We're in a dualistic reality. We can become polarized, which is different than dualism, but it is about this and this, this and this. When we get here, it transcends dualism. And this is really important when we relate this back to the very biggest thing about communication. We transcend dualism, because now we are coming back to our spiritualness. We don't need to say this or that, because we start to understand this is that and that is this. This is when our communication starts to change. So this is the gateway to consciousness through communication. So this is when we start to connect everything. So let's talk a little bit about communication, because our bodies are designed, first and foremost, to communicate within ourselves. But this chakra is so messed up with programming that we think communication is all out here with this.
Yeah, right. And it just brings me back to words are so important. And we actually did a session on, what words can do, depending on how you use them. And I think in this section, when you get to the throat chakra, it's where you start to really listen more. You feel more, you have more intuition, and you're more careful with the words that you put out there.
Because they can actually gag in your throat after a certain point, right? I mean, you can start to trust, oh my goodness, that is not even coming out correctly. But even more so, what I think is amazing is we communicate within our own system. And this is what I'm going to invite people to think about for this chakra as well, because it isn't just communication here. This is communication here, meaning I'm going to trust my own DNA and cellular structure. I am going to trust my physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual communications inside of not just me, but using that overall, because this is the center of sound and vibration and expression. And if I know my own resonance and my own frequency inside of my body, that's the most first and foremost intimate relationship one needs to have, in my opinion. And most of us don't do that. We stick everything outside of ourselves. So my resonance, my frequency inside of myself, when I know that intimately and I contain that in my auric field, this is when I start to go, oh, I
Mm,
don't think that's my truth
right.
because
Right.
it doesn't match my frequency.
Yes. So talk about for someone who's just hearing this, because sound frequency for me was it's until you start to work with it, you don't
Mhm.
understand how it really impacts, that area.
Well, think about it. Sound and frequency creates everything. It creates our future, it creates our movement. If I say something, it creates the future. I'm going to go right now and grab a glass of water. I create the future of getting water, right? I mean, we're actually creating with every single solitary thing we say. So be very careful about what is resonating and vibrating through your actual vehicle, because you are creating not only your future, but everybody's. And this is amazing to me because we don't think like that.
No, no.
And most of the
Mm.
time when you say something spewed out of your mouth in anger, hate, or just a kickback response, you can't take it back again, right? I mean, I've learned that lesson over the years because I was wicked at, shredding people way back when.
I think I was better at withholding. Like I thought
Yeah.
a lot of things, but I didn't necessarily say them.
Yeah, you and I are the
A
opposite
whole
ends of the
nother,
spectrum. Which
um,
actually brings up a good point, Kim, because this chakra, what I find with clients is you're either trained to walk on eggshells, don't rock the boat, don't make anybody feel bad, or conversely, on the other side of the coin, you're ripping everybody to pieces and shredding everybody. And both of them are working in fear because this is, I don't want to be heard. I don't want to be seen. I don't want to, I don't want to fail. I don't. And this is, looks like I want, but really it's, I am so uncomfortable with my own individuality that I have to prove to everybody that I'm right. So they're both a negative victim program,
they are, and
right?
they're both kind of a mask, like
Yeah.
you're
Oh,
not putting your true self out there at all. You know,
totally.
yeah.
Totally. And every single solitary person I work with has a difficult time with this chakra. So you said about frequency and vibration. Things come out of our mouth and we react to them. Think how we react to music. Think how our body reacts to different things like chanting, certain things that are moving out there in creativity. Our bodies will react to that because this is where it starts to become sound and vibration. The other stuff in our body down below that we've covered already is much more heavy and matter. It's becoming physical, it's becoming real. Now we're getting into the place where it's not that it's not real, but we're creating what eventually will be real.
Yes.
So we're in the creation mode of the ethers. And so that frequency is very different and it is very individual. And this is very changeable isn't the word I really want to use right now. It changes all the time though. It changes all the time because after we move from individuality and we transform that and we go above individuality and we understand everything, we're starting to play in the ethers. We were in the ethers in the heart, but now we're really in the ethers, right? This is like everything is out there. So we can find programming. We can find, programming within us. We can find it in the ethers. We can find a lot of interference. And so this is when we start to become very disciplined with ourselves so that we know that we're speaking what is indeed integral to me, an individual to me. Does that make some sense?
It does, and that's why it's so important to do the work on your, on the bottom, on the
Yeah, physical plane.
exactly, because
The
it's
bottom.
that word, blah blah blah. No, because if you, like you said before, if you're not putting the work in there before you get to this place, you're just in a whole nother chaotic, spot. You're
And
not.
this is why it's progressive. Why is the
Mhm.
body and the chakra system is so fascinating is, again, we're a micro of the macro. We're a little microcosm of the entire macrocosm of reality. The lower parts of our bodies are clearly separate.
Mhm.
And it is a balance. We have two legs, we have 2 feet, we have 2 arms, we have two. Only do we have 2 eyes up here, but they become one. Okay, and we do have 2 ears, yada yada. But we start to become. This is clearly separate. We need to learn separateness and individuality. And as we climb the chakras, we start to learn, oh, individuality is not individual; it's all one. So it's an expansion of our consciousness as we move up, because this is mine, this is yours. That's still important to some extent, but what's more important at this chakra is knowing it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter.
Or the ability to discern that it isn't,
Yours.
right. Because you're in the oneness. That's what makes it, like you said, there's so much more. You can still get the programming and all the different things, but what is your truth and what are you for your, as part of the one?
And what's so weird about this, as you're saying it, is the separation is still really important, and yet there's no separation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This is when everything starts to get that mind screw, right?
Oh my God.
Because every time we step up, we get less and less separation. And yet it's important to know your own frequency, like I said, your own vibration.
Yes.
You know, and I think I've said this before, and I don't know if it's Vibe Tribe webcasts or on these, but I remember when I was going through the medical world for the last couple of years and meeting with Western medicine doctors and such. And the one guy goes, well, how do you even know something's wrong with you? And he's really kind of, arrogant. I go, because my frequency is not right. I go, my vibration's completely off. And he goes, what? And I go, I said, I know my own vibration. Don't you know your vibration? And he looks at me and goes, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. And I'm like, maybe you should. So this is when we get intimate with our own frequency. We become not just a meat and bone body down below, but we become a frequency. We become an etheric frequency. And the template for this, by the way, is called the etheric template. So our humanness on the root chakra has what's called as the etheric body. And this is now the etheric template, which is like the negative on a photograph for the positive photograph. You follow?
Okay.
Whatever's blue here is white here. Whatever's white here is blue here.
Yeah.
And so this is the bigger blueprint of the humanness, but it's done in a bigger way of oneness. And so it's funny to me that this concept of knowing my own frequency is something that people don't even get, because it's always been very natural for me. And I'm not judging. It's just been natural for me. That's my barometer. That's my truth barometer. It's like, ew, that feels heavy, or, ooh, that feels scary or dark. I know frequency, and that's been my guiding light, right?
Did you do a lot of training around that, or did you just know it? I mean,
I think I came in with it. I think that is a really big empath starseed situation, but I wasn't trained in how to work it until I became self-trained in terms of empathy and healing work, because I just let everything in the window. And this is the problem with the throat chakra. Oh my God. The throat chakra is so difficult because of these innate belief systems. You come last, everyone else comes first. Don't rock the boat. Don't speak up. No, speak up. Make them understand. These are the ingrained belief systems that cause mostly the empath, and most all people, but mostly the empath, to feel like they have to fix everybody. Oh my gosh, this is, you're so sad, you're so scared, you're so this, you're so that. But what's happening is, underneath all that hero program that the empath is doing, I'm carrying the entire world on the upper neck and back shoulders. This is where I find all of it for people. It's like a backpack full of rocks, right? The reason why I'm carrying everybody is because I want to fix everybody.
Yeah.
And if I want to fix everybody, it's important for us to drop back down the chakra scale and go back into the solar plexus and look at your ego. Because if you're trying to carry everybody and you're trying to fix everybody, if you get really honest with your truth, you're going to find out the reason why I'm going to try to fix you is because I'm actually feeling uncomfortable around you.
Yeah, it's a mirror. It's always interesting to me. You're just, what you don't like in someone else, or what you don't feel good about in someone else, it's like that mirror of yourself,
right
there. Yeah.
And I think this chakra of all chakras is the biggest mirror. I do.
Absolutely. It's the hardest, because you have to be honest and truthful with yourself, and you acknowledging that and allowing yourself to own it and be responsible with it is, it's not easy, especially if you've gone through life, most of your life, not allowing yourself to be truthful or say the meaningful things that are important for you.
And this chakra gets stuffed in clients so easy that they don't even know, because they don't feel in here. We're feeling in our body everywhere, but when we feel in here, what it feels like to feel a 3-year-old feel of hiding in a corner as my parents are fighting and wanting to melt into the woodwork because I'm scared. We don't let ourselves even go there. But it's ingrained in our DNA and cell memory. So now I'm older and I don't want anyone to fight because I'm still 3 years old and scared and melting into the woodwork. So now my whole purpose in life is going to be careful of the eggshells. And then I don't let anybody have a feel, because I don't want to feel, and on it goes. And this is what we find is so stuffed. And when I'm doing client work, and I push on these subjects and I go deeper into their structure, it's amazing because the first thing that changes is their eyes. And their eyes pull back and they get huge and big and watery, and they start to realize, oh, there's something that is not coming out here, and it gets stuck. And really understand the throat chakra and the solar plexus can be really great friends or not, because if these two are both stuck, this whole esophageal tract and heart tract is in jeopardy. This is high blood pressure. This is high cholesterol. This is, diabetes. This is all of that stuff, much less breast cancer, heart attacks, etc. But heartburn, esophageal trouble, thyroid stuff. This is a really hard chakra.
That's the first time I showed up in your office. I already had thyroid issues for years and years and years, and I was just stuffing. And it took a lot to figure out where it was layers. It's layers. And so you have to be patient with this, because, I thought it was more on a surface of what was bothering me, like my job, or I didn't feel like I was, walking my truth in this job, which was true. But then there's another layer, and there's another layer, and there's another layer. It goes all the way down back into childhood. And so this one takes a lot of work. I'm still working it.
Oh my goodness.
As am I.
Yeah. And if we don't admit we're working this, then you're a big fat liar, because we never can get through this one 100%, because it's ether, right? But I think you brought up a really cool thing that I want to unleash just a tad. You said, I wasn't in the truth of my job. So understanding that this is about communication and vibration and frequency, but it's also about truth. So if my life is not working truthfully, this chakra is really shut down, which is not having anything to do with speaking my truth necessarily. Do you understand?
It's living it. Like I did not believe in some of the things that we were doing and how we were treating people. I didn't. It was, and in the day to day, I went and did my job. I did the best that I could in that job, but I was really not living my truth in that job.
So now unleash that a little more, because now if Kim is still being her corporate and being able to not live her truth, but then next she doesn't articulate her truth. So it's a double whammy on this chakra. That's why this is such a tough chakra. I remember being corporate at certain times saying, I would be in a situation where I'm like, look, I understand you want to do this, and my vision is this. And I say, I don't sign the paycheck. I will do this because I'm choosing to take the paycheck, but then I take consequences too. I take consequences. So consequences might be, I feel bad, or I feel unintegral, or whatever. I'm kind of expanding. I didn't have that much trouble in my job, but I wonder, I'm wondering how much people will just stuff it because they can't say it. Do you know what I'm saying? And then they will stuff their truth, and then they feel non-integral, or they feel shameful, or they feel all of these things. So this is kind of a double difficulty in here, being able to hold your truth. And now let's even go bigger. What about freaking truths on the national, if not world scale? What about when we are looking at things? And this is why the world has been fascinating to me in the last years, especially living in Minnesota, watching the situations of the riots and the George Floyds and the things, and people, and the Black Lives Matter, and everything matters, and blah, blah, blah. Articulation of my truth, my truth, my truth, my truth. And people are so scared of that. And there's pros and cons to that whole situation, because as someone who's watching the ascension process, I honor the fact that you're speaking up for your truth. I honor the fact that you are commanding to be heard. I think that's awesome. Whether you command to be heard by burning down the building is maybe a little bit over the line, but the command of being heard, I think, is fabulous. But when it's done like that, there's a condition attached, because I can command to be heard, but if I'm doing it in so much anger, I have a conditional attachment to that, meaning I want change. You might want change, which is awesome, and you can do that in love. But when it's done in anger, it's a different frequency vibration again that comes out scary and nasty and awful, and it continues because something isn't fixed when I'm done with my articulation. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. And I think right now, you're hearing on the news, students at different colleges, the riots that are going on around Israel and the Palestinians, people are afraid to speak up.
Mhm.
And there's the group that's going after it and angry, but then there's a group of people that are hiding because they cannot speak their truth without the violence.
Right.
So this is
And
really
this is that macro thing again, okay? And that's
Mhm.
why I think it's so fascinating that the human is micro macro for everything.
Yeah.
We're actually micro and then macro, meaning, we're micro, and how I deal with my truth can be a group mentality, hive mind, and it can also be universal and multiversal, right? It just keeps going. But I think that that's awesome to bring forward, because how horrific is it that we have to be scared to hold a truth? This
Right.
has been for eons and eons and eons. I mean, think of how
Absolutely.
many people have been destroyed for their truth.
Yeah, look at all the religious wars,
Yeah.
that people were hiding. And yeah, I totally understand that part of it. And it's really hard to be neutral. And
Yes. So
it's
I'm going
so
to give an
painful.
example of, I'm going to grab a coffee cup. So pretend you can see through here and you can
I'll
see all
grab
the
mine
coffee.
and I'm going to take a sip.
Okay. And so I explain to people, when we are talking about truths, it's imperative for us to understand, if you think you're going to change somebody's mind, actually in energy, it's not even possible. It's just not. And we waste so much time trying to change someone's truth or make them understand, or you made me feel like, and all of these things that we do. Our auric container carries drops and drops and drops and drops to fill this coffee cup. It's drops of experiences, drops of feelings, drops of vibration, drops of tone. There's nothing about what's in my cup that you can understand having another cup, right? So this
Right.
is your container, this is my container, okay? And you think you're going to get into my container and change that frequency by you verbalizing your truth. But
Mhm.
what no one understands is that's not even a possibility, because there's a tonal thing, there's a DNA memory, there's a physical thing, there's a memory thing. There's so many things that are in here, from this life, beyond, before, forever, eternal. All of that is in my container. Most people don't even know what's in their container.
Right.
So I'm going to give an example I've done before for teaching. If I'm that little kid again in the corner that's scared because my mom and dad are fighting, and there's a tone that's happening, and I'm terrified, and I'm in the other room of what's feeling unsafe, and I'm not feeling worth enough. If you love me enough, you wouldn't be fighting, right? If I was enough and my worth was enough, I would be safe right now. So all of these anchors of safe, worth, and enough are being absolutely destroyed at a 3-year-old level, that then goes into my container. So now, 20 years later, 30 years later, I'm married with a partner, and I can have an altercation with that partner, and maybe that partner is wearing the same color that my mom had on or my dad had on.
Yeah.
My psychic mind doesn't, my actual mind doesn't, my psyche of my mind doesn't know that. It triggers. There's a tone in the voice of my partner that triggers. There's a tone or a vibrational frequency in the room from the TV or the whatever going that triggers. We have multitudes of triggers that we don't even know is happening, much less our partner. And yet
Right.
that partner's hammering away, thinking they're going to make me understand their truth. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. No, that's a great way to explain it. I don't think I've ever heard you explain it that way before.
Yeah,
The,
it's just
in the container,
utterly.
because we come in with, into this body with certain already DNA, past life,
Oh
you
God.
know, that we don't even understand mentally, or in your, like you said, in your brain, we don't know these things necessarily.
Mm-mm.
And so just starting out life with that container is different than the person next to you. So when you add
Exactly.
all of your experiences in as you go, that just, we're not all the same. And then when you start talking about, but now we're transitioning, we're into the oneness,
Right.
all of our separate containers, like go into that a little bit, because it's
Well, let's unleash this a little further in my
okay.
situation, being a starseed. So I come in with starseed knowledge and communication, meaning I haven't done the earth plane a whole lot. I really, and I'm going to be honest here, and it's not nice, I think people are stupid down here a lot. And I will say things very bluntly that are taken as non-compassionate, because I don't understand, like, why you would do that. You
Yeah.
should know that doesn't make sense. It isn't even real. That kind of a concept will come out because my other lifetime consciousness experiences that are in this container are not playing the game of the earthly thing as much. And so like for death, for example, or all those kinds of things where I get myself in trouble. And this happens a lot for star seeds, because their container is full of different coffee, right? Their
Yeah.
container has different truths, and they understand things differently. Now, what the perception is then is, oh my God, you're rude, you're nasty, you're uncompassionate, you don't have any caring about you. So the truth of this person's perspective looking out of their matrix is their truth.
Yes.
And they think that by berating somebody like me, I'm going to change my compassion level, when that's impossible, because this is my compassion. My compassion is knowing I don't have to worry about you.
Yeah.
This is what the
Right.
empath does a lot of. I have to worry,
Yes.
I have to worry, I have to worry, I have to. No, you don't have to worry. That's their journey. Why would I worry?
Right.
So this non-truth, and remember, a lot of people talk about the matrix. The matrix is here. We are our own individual matrix. So my matrix perspective comes from here when I'm engaged in a reality experience, and yours is from that other like container again,
Yes.
right?
Mine's from this
Yeah.
one, and you're
And
from
we
that one.
cannot be in
Yeah.
each other's container. It's just like, what is wrong? See, this is one of the starseed things. It's like, what is wrong with you people? How do you not know that? So
It's so much more simple than we make it,
yeah.
honestly.
And so
Yeah.
what is so cool when you finally overcome and transcend this individuality and truth crap
Yeah.
is it just doesn't matter. That is your truth. That's cool. Hey, have it your way. I don't care. It just doesn't need to affect me. And you step back into neutral. And then you're the observer and everything's cool. And if we could all do that with race, creed, color, religion, all that crap that we fight about, politics, who cares what you believe in? It just doesn't matter, right? So it's a really, really, really hard chakra. And the tone, I really want to bring that forward, because this is about rhythm. This is about tonal. This is about stuff that I can, and me, the way that my body is designed, I can't handle places that have certain tones. I was telling a client the other day, I can't even listen to certain music because it drives my actual physicality insane. And my kids tease me all the time because they're all musicians. And my oldest son is like, that's because it doesn't have a 2/4 measure, mom, like a dun, dun, dun. And I'm like, I know, I can't do it. I just can't do it. So
we are a product of the, 60s, 70s, and whatever.
but it's not even 60s and 70s for me. It's about dualistic balance. It's about rhythmic balance. It has to have this, so it has to have this. Because when they go crazy on everything and go out here, I'm like, no, that's too much of this. I need to bring it back down into here to get stabilized. And so it destabilizes my body just with the rhythm. And so rhythm is entrainment for a lot of us. I mean, we entrain, people entrain. Look, when you live with 3 girls in an apartment, your cycle's all entrain, your moms and 2 daughters, your cycle's entrain. We all entrain the way that we think and we feel. So rhythms are very important in this thing. And so are doing things like mantras and toning and really the rhythms come out of us like patterns. And these are all really integral for this chakra.
So it's so interesting because I go through periods of time where music, I just can't get enough music. But lately I have just been so irritated by music. And so I've been trying to find different types of music that actually fit with where I'm at. And
I think it has to do with what chakra you're working on, if I may, in terms of, because when we're really struggling again with the root chakra, we're wanting that really primal music, that drumming, that, that kind of deeper flute. But if I'm really up in that crown chakra, I can be doing harps and bowls. And so it depends on what the body is clearing also. So be aware of that and play with that. And it should, if I can use that word, it should change. We should change. It's really important for us to be able to change. So this throat chakra is also about nonverbal cues. And I want to bring that up too. This is about, like face expression, like I said, tone, eye contact, gestures. I mean, we have so many fights and arguments as humans just because we'll do this. Right? Or I'm pouring my heart out to you and you're like, those things are all nonverbal art forms of receiving, condoning, making fun of. I mean, those are really part of this chakra. Just because it's not coming out here doesn't mean that this part of the body is not communicating, right? So, and sometimes, like you said before, less words are more meaning, This is also a listening chakra because it's all part of the same chakra.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that was, I don't always have to have something to say anymore. Like I used to just have to be in the conversation, have my own story and tell whatever. And now I can sit back and listen. I don't have to be part of that story necessarily, but to thoughtfully listen and contribute where it's actually meaningful, not just because I need to say something.
Or think of it even farther, Kim, in terms of being part of the story by not knowing what you're saying. I mean, I oftentimes think of Peru and being with the shamans, and I have no idea what they're saying. And language, shows us the unknown. Language connects dots. Speaking connects dots, but we don't have to use our voice to do that, right? But we think we do. So this is something to think about if you're a parent. This is something to think about, bigger, especially when people are dying and going through that process. This is when we start to get to that death process of we see our patient, our loved one, or whatever in the bed gasping for conversation. And lots of people going through the death process will freak out, holding space for the death process will freak out because I can't figure out what my mom's trying to say. Oh my God, I have to figure out what she's trying to say. And she's not trying to say anything. She's actually closing this down by saying it, releasing the process of words and saying it to the beings that are probably behind you in the room. It isn't always about you. So, and maybe it is, maybe indeed it is. I'm not saying this is a given one way or the other. I'm just saying a lot of people get very scared during that process when people are speaking because they're not necessarily speaking to you. So discern that in the moment and don't feel bad if you can't get what they're saying because they're not saying it any longer with this. This is the chakra where we move into telepathy. So it goes from this chakra to this chakra is where we're getting the art of communication without our normal 5 senses. This is how I do my best to work with the shamans, like, using your hand signals, showing them and pointing, and then practicing, and all of that stuff is really fun because it doesn't have to have the same words.
Right. And the shamans that's a really good example too, Suzanne.
Yeah.
And, going through a ceremony with them, you don't need to understand the words. You feel it.
Oh
you
my gosh,
feel what
right?
they're doing. Yeah. It's, that's a really amazing example to use.
What I was just writing about was when you and I and some others were on our trip with our Navajo native guide, David. And he was this fantastic man that at one point started singing for us.
He did.
And singing his family native songs. And the song that came out of him was so beautiful. And he didn't even have he's got a great voice, but he did, but he didn't. You know what I mean? It wasn't about having a good voice. It's about the tone. Yeah. It's about the vibrational frequency of the message. And it just opens your heart and brings you to tears. So, this is a creativity chakra. This is a creative chakra. And sadly, in our human structure, we oftentimes take creative arts out of everything in budgets first, the school system lost, X amount of money. So we're taking out creative arts. And that's, I think, what's really limited us as humans to be able to share truth because we don't have any creativity. This is where we reach into the ethers with creativity, but no, let's take that out of the budget.
Right. Yeah. Even at home. The right. Things that have to be done take over and you don't get to the creative stuff. Oh
my God, you'd much rather worry about cleaning the house and doing the dishes than going out and seeing an art museum. I mean, we have done this to ourselves as a society because society has done it to us. And this is the creative chakra. Besides, it matches, by the way, with your sacral. So let's think of it this way. We have the heart, and then we can have a matcher and a matcher and a matcher and a matcher if we want to look at it that way. But this actually matches, I think, the third eye and the throat literally align for me to that sacral center, the creativity in a different way. It's about the arts. It's about imagination. It's about using your body. That's why flow, creative dance, color, all of that stuff starts to make some really big sense here. Yeah. So it's a big chakra.
It is. And I'm so excited going through this again because I'm like, all right, it's triggering things for me. And I'm so excited to get busy with a few things. So
let's take it one more level, even deeper, because we can also become so incredibly programmed in this area by technology. Now, TV and technology will come through the eyes, which everyone assumes is the third eye. But again, this is our input center here from the ethers. And so when we're having a lot of information coming into us, this is programmable. But remember, I love to think about things like the telephone game too. You remember the telephone game? We'd say this, and then somebody would say this, and so word of mouth can be the most ridiculous, hurtful thing for this chakra also, because then by the time it's said 5 times on social media, we think it's real, and it's like, what? Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's so programmable. It's so,
It's
be,
instantaneous
oh
too. Like
God, right?
seriously, instantaneous. Like quick, 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 quick. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And I
Yeah.
can watch the news and I can be instantly shut down. I can, we can trigger, I can see something of violence. And if I was abused as I was a kid, right back does my throat and do this, I mean, there's so many things in the media. Let's say that you were abused or you knew somebody that was taken or you knew somebody that was hurt as a child. You go see a movie like Sound of Freedom and boom, you're all locked up again. These are really, really important things for us to understand, that this is a very sharing chakra. Okay. It goes really far and wide. And so the importance of the physical plane is keep your feet on the ground. Keep your own feet on the ground and make sure that your feelings, that's your root chakra, make sure that your own true feelings are intact. Know your feels, do your work, get rid of your old triggers in your sacral center. Okay. And make sure that your own individualized power is engaged in that solar plexus. Okay. And then keep your heart open. So these three, and then the bridge, these three physical chakras are imperative to keeping this one transcendent of duality. If we are not keeping these in check, we will not transcend duality. We will fight it. My truth, your truth. Nah, 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 nah. Okay. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. And especially after talking about, doing your beliefs and trying to change people's minds from an anger or violent perspective
Yep.
yeah, it's not going to work. It doesn't work.
So I want to just really briefly go over some of the individual, if it's too, and I got to put these on because it's dark in here. I didn't turn on enough lights, I guess. If it is underactive, we have excessive introversion or withdrawal from social situations. This is from my book. Insecurity, feeling the need to walk on eggshells around others, fear of speaking up, small and timid voice, worried about hurting others' feelings. So this is if your throat chakra is underactive, you haven't activated your truth center well enough. Those are the things. That's that, ooh, I don't want to be seen and heard. This one also, I find, is so many clients relates directly to failure. I don't want to speak up or be seen. I don't want to be too big. I had one just recently. I don't want to be too big, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a really big thing with this. I don't want to be too big. I don't want to be seen, right?
Out there because it might not be easy or
I know that feeling.
Right? Like,
because if I'm too big, I'm going to get attacked. If I'm too big, I'm going to be judged. And so this is all having to do with truths again. So now when it's an overactive chakra, meaning I'm way too open on this chakra, this is the person that is the gossiper, overly critical or condescending. And that can be not only of others, but also of self, remember, arrogance, gaslighting, using language that is rude or abusive, inability to listen. So this is that squashing others. This is that I need to be able to, be more important than you, blah, blah, blah. So it's really important for us to watch that stuff. I believe toning is one of the greatest things to keep this open. Mantras, being able to just do toning at all different levels. I think that that's super fun. One of the things that we've said before, affirmations are I'm open and I'm honest. I can hear, I can be validated, I am heard, I'm nourished. And so it's going back to that understanding my value, my worth, and my safe again. This is really super important. Okay. I was going to see if we had a yoga pose.
So when you're balanced, you're the good communicator, you're artistically inspired. So the things that we talked about, when you're in balance, you're just easy to meditate, you can connect.
Right.
So yeah.
And this is a really hard chakra for me. In fact, I literally just got home from the chiropractor and I went 2 times in 3 days because my neck goes out all watt on the left-hand side. And I do really human things. Like I do a lot of writing lately and I've been on the computer a lot. So this is beauticians. This is people in offices. This is everybody on your phone. We're finding out that these poor little necks are really having a difficult time. So yoga poses are head rolls and neck stretches for sure. Supporting your shoulder stand, that really going on your shoulders and such. Fish pose. These are all things that can stretch that open. I do a lot, but really be careful because I'm such a dork. I was thinking of myself this morning. I go really overboard because I get really super excited, like, this is really going to open my neck. And then I like do it 100 times in a day. And then by the next day, I'm like, now I got to go to the chiropractor and put it back in. The neck area, and you'd think I know this, but I'm such a dork. The neck area, do it slowly and work your way into it with strength eventually, because I get super excited that I finally found this thing that's going to help it. And then I overdo it and then I actually wreck it. I'm talking in physical form right now.
Yeah.
So this is
think about the physical form. I mean, this little thing is holding this,
right? Why do we have
of
a bowling ball on a pencil?
Right.
This is one of the things my alien self sends back out, because I can feel other lifetimes with a really thick neck and like gills, and it makes so much more sense. It's like, this is really much more sense than this,
Yeah.
God. And for me, psychic sensors are your occipitals back here. And so these are always being whacked around when I'm doing my actual in and out of my body all day long for work. So my neck is very vulnerable. The people that are carrying a lot right here on the base of the brain and the top of the head are the people that are really still running a lot of what we would call reptilian programming or belief system programming. So if you find this as an area, that's another thing that I will point out. And then lastly, one of the really big things to point out of this chakra is shame. And I will find in an etheric energy body, when someone is shamed, their head wants to go down like this. And depending on how big the shame is, the head will go down farther and farther and farther. Now, does that mean my human body's walking around like this all day? No, but the energetic body is doing it all day. And then the ego will pull it up, and then the energetic body will go down. So in essence, they're doing this kind of a hinge motion all day. And the more that we do that hinge motion all day, etherically, meaning energetically, subconsciously, don't even know I'm doing it, it wears on the top of that neck bone and base of the head. So we'll have a lot of problems in our spine up here. Okay. So that's a big one. And the other one that I just had the other day was shame, but so proud that nope, no one's going to see that shame. So it was almost fused like this, and there was no movement in the actual energetic body. So therefore the physical body had become so straight and structured that it was almost difficult for them to have any movement. So this is, again, taking it slow into the head rolls and being able to, because gosh, you got to move your head. You're going to change a lane in your car. You better look, Right. So these are really big actual physical troubles that we can find from this chakra, not to mention when we carry that backpack. And if you're the one that has that backpack, it's that feeling, and it'll go around here, all from the throat chakra. I encourage my customers and clients to look who's in your backpack. Think of them as big, giant boulders. Oh, this is my kid today. Oh, this is my mom today. Oh, this is my husband today, and really remove those as best you can during quiet time or meditation.
Yeah, no, I had the backpack. I remember.
Yeah.
And I still once in a while do,
Yeah, it'll literally go around your rotator cuff like a pack. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And this is also the throat, when it doesn't have the ability to hold its voice, will have the shoulders round down also, because I want to hide. And when we haven't had a voice since the very beginning, because we do, by the way, get programmed in utero. So like, for example, if I'm in utero and I'm hearing my own parents say, whatever about me coming into the world, I'm already don't have a voice, or I'm already scared of their fighting, or I'm already whatever. So this will be the person that really holds the whole upper part of the body almost in a fetal position. So again, energetically, I can tell someone was abused in utero depending on how tight that C structure is. And this really affects this. So that's why these poses of going this way and stretching this way, and do them slowly, are super important.
And not 100 times all at once.
Sure, right? I was so excited about this thing, and then I just totally threw it out. And my poor chiropractor, he's just like, oh God, but I keep him busy. Okay. Anything else that you think that we missed?
No, I think that you covered. I mean, it's a lot of information.
It's a big chakra. Oh, let me add one last thing. The actual ascension process obviously is a microcosm, macrocosm, and relationship also. So meaning our physical plane, it encompasses our plant, animal kingdom, and humanity, period, in our body. That's the match, right? So if our physical planetary existence in humanity is going from a 3D reality to a 5D reality, that's what people talk about, right? This is the 5D reality. And we have to go through that 4D plane. So from the ascension process perspective, we are as a whole and individually jumping around from 3 to 5, 3 to 5. So this is another reason why this is getting its butt kicked, because we are doing this as a collective unified force, bringing the frequency of our planet, our humanity, everything as a whole up to this vibrational frequency, which is way higher. The higher our chakras go, the faster that vibration goes. And you made reference to the Schumann. This is why the Schumann is changing, because we're dragging that planetary frequency and vibration to a higher level. Schumann used to be boom, 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 right? Now it's like boop, 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 boop. And then sometimes it's right? Yep. And it's going up because that is equivalent to our root chakra, right? And if our root chakra is vibrating faster and higher, it's because we're all going higher on the so-called chain of the chakra system as a whole universe. And so this is going to be more and more and more coming into the system, which is why our truth is being so challenged.
Yeah. Yeah, it is actually. I mean, and that's why it's so important to understand your own frequency and vibrations.
Yes.
What's yours and what's not. And that's not.
And really, I want to leave you with examine your belief systems. I mean, the very first book in the very first chapter in this book about how to, get a hold of all this stuff is look at what you've learned and believed in, because it's probably not true,
Well, by the age of 7, by the age of 14, by the age of, all the things that came in during that time that you carry through.
Especially when it comes to truth. And remember this visual. This is what is in somebody else's truth container, and yours is over here. Stop thinking that you're going to make them feel bad, or stop thinking you're going to make them believe something, or you're right and they're wrong, because it just isn't possible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it is. Transcendence is a really cool word. And think of the freedom it feels when you say transcending duality. I don't have to care about this or that because it just doesn't matter. Neutrality.
Well, and another word that came up when I was reading through some stuff this morning is purification.
Yes.
That's you're now taking some of this, and is it good? Is it pure? Or is it tainted with whatever the belief or whatever that?
Yeah, I forgot that one. Thank you for bringing that up. That is true.
Yeah, because so I thought I think of it as a sieve, like it's like, ooh, that's going to go because that's not.
Yep.
My truth.
And the goal is to not have it look like a funnel from here up, because this needs to have just as much. Eventually, the goal is to be a cylindrical form for your chakra system. But yeah, it's really easy to go, oh, I want to go higher. Oh, I want to be enlightened.
Yeah.
I want to have all this great experiences with the galactics. Oh, by the way, maybe you should put your butt on the ground first and connect to the actual planetary system so you don't go on overload and burn yourself out.
But we're here to live on this planet for a reason. And so when we're moving between 5D, 4D, 3D, down to up and down, I think that the idea of purification in this place is really important to think about it that way.
I like that word.
Yeah.
Not a word we use often, but I like it.
Right.
Cool. All righty. Anything else? We think we nailed that one pretty good.
I think we nailed it. And by the way, if you have questions, don't be afraid to ask.
Okay. So, and swallow once in a while, not only look at your backpack, but swallow, because you will see how thick this can be and how thick this can be. Oh, one last thing. When the throat chakra is blocked on this side, it's because I am having a hard time sending out and doing and like speaking my truth. When the throat chakra is blocked on this side, meaning the back of the neck, the same side through the back, this is because I'm hesitant to receive others' truths. This is one last important thing. I'm glad I remembered. Meaning, oh, you just told me I look pretty today. Why?
I don't know. I'm just.
Why'd you say that? Oh, I would. I want you to do this with me. Why do you really want that? Is there something? Is there a condition attached? These are all the things that we don't verbalize, but we think on the backside of the body. So if the backside of the body is tight on the throat neck chakra, it's because you don't trust other people's truths without a condition potentially being attached.
That
And
totally
that's
makes
a
sense.
really
Yeah.
big thing to think about, because it's like, this is why people can't receive very well. And it does the same thing on the heart chakra. It
Yeah.
will have that condition attached on love on the backside of the heart chakra. So it's like, oh, what do you want? You know, why am I lovable? It's the same thing as why do you want to say that to me? And so
Yeah.
this is why we can't receive any compliments or anything.
Yeah, no, that totally, and it is totally connected to, similar to the heart chakra
Mhm.
we talked about on the last
Yep.
episode. So
Yep.
yeah,
So funny that people can't take compliments, right? I mean,
you're
it's just,
lovely today, Suzanne.
yeah, it's like, what do you want?
Well,
Or we take that compliment and we pull it all apart. Yeah,
yeah,
that's what we do. We're so
I tried
silly.
a new gel on my hair. I don't
Yeah,
know what.
so human. I love it. All
Okay.
right. Well, on behalf of Kim and I, thank you everyone for listening to our truth. Like we said, in every single case, take what resonates, toss what doesn't, because we're not here to be your truth. We're just here to share the information and give advice if you choose to take it. Maybe hit the share button, maybe hit the like button, the subscribe button, talk about it, and possibly even a comment. Use your fingers for your voice and leave a comment. How's that?
There you go. There you go.
All
Perfect.
right, everybody. Until next. Cosmic
Goodbye.